Now, I know you guys opened up this video in hopes that this week we'd be working on Project Jigsaw again, and that's typically what we do. However, this week's video is a little bit different, but I think you guys will really enjoy what we've made. This week, we're repairing something really special, and I think you guys are really gonna like it.
This is a 1977 911 in Peru Red. When the car first came to us, the customer had been driving the car since the early 80s and the engine was completely worn out. We couldn't reuse the magnesium case because it was completely worn out. So we went to a short stroke 3.2 liter built on an aluminum case. We added the popular Boxster brake upgrade, a complete overhaul of the suspension with Elephant Racing's top line parts. He wanted to take it for one run at the Silver State Classic Challenge in Nevada, which he did. He took it up Mount Washington, he took it around Daytona. He needed more traction in the back. We put a wing on it, we put flares on it, wider wheels and tires. Continued to dial it in, and he just kept getting more and more good comments. One of them being, "Why are you driving this car on the track? It's too nice and too old to be doing that." But that didn't stop him. He continued to drive it. This time, it didn't go so well. He got a little too anxious in the corner, it made its way to the tire wall, and now we're gonna bring it back one more time. Not that we wouldn't do it again if we had to.
We've already gone through and assessed the damage on the car. We're gonna have to replace the fender, we're gonna replace the door. We also got a brand new quarter panel from Porsche to replace this one because it's just a little too far gone to go through and fix it. Could we fix it? Sure, but it's definitely more efficient to replace that quarter panel. But today, we're gonna begin with the quarter panel. So we're gonna start off with getting the car up in the air, we're gonna tear it down, and we're gonna get this quarter panel cut off. So what's kind of neat about this wing is we took a fiberglass recreation wing and then painted it with a satin hot rod black to make it look like it had the OEM rubber edge. I think it came out pretty sick. And the bonus is it's super light. It's a lot lighter than the factory one. Now that that's off, I have a bunch more to take off. However, the quarter panel just showed up, so let's see how it looks. Oh no. That is not an SC quarter panel. That's not gonna work.
What?
Hey, you wanna open up this box for me, buddy?
Oh, no, I don't. No, I really don't.
First off, the packaging is kind of non-existent. However, I don't know if it was unpacked.
Wow.
Did you pull the packaging out of this? Did you take any packaging out of this?
in
That's
here?
how it came? Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, come on.
So yeah, first off, they packaged it with no packing material, which is its own problem. But why don't you pull that panel back and look at the front?
What the heck?
That's not
Okay, that's not what I expected to be the problem, but that's its own problem. You know, I got a camshaft tensioner yesterday.
Yeah.
And the pin was missing from it, the one that compresses everything,
Yeah,
holds it together,
the most
and there was no
part.
spring tension anywhere there.
Oh my gosh.
A brand new one, and guess what?
What?
That was the last one in the country, so we had to order another one from Germany.
This is not gonna work.
No, it isn't.
Don't you love parts problems?
Yeah. Looks like I ordered the right part number. So this says it is 06210 GRV, which
is on the box.
Yep.
So
and that is a 78 to 83.
So somebody packaged the wrong quarter panel in that box.
That's what it looks like.
Oh my goodness. So you didn't do it wrong, and the dealer probably didn't even do it wrong. It's
right.
whoever packaged the part at the warehouse.
Yep. Which obviously they did something wrong packaging the part in the warehouse because it showed up like that.
Packaging. It's just sitting in a box that's like, it was sliding back and forth and just poking holes in it.
You know, $2,000 plus quarter panel, and they can't bother to spend a little money on packaging or put the right part in the box.
We need to order another quarter panel. I'm gonna move forward anyway, and we're gonna disassemble the rest of the car. I love these collapsible tires. I was pulling this apart and I had a thought. So we just found out that that quarter panel that we bought was the last one in the country, apparently, according to Porsche. That means we need to send a different one over from Germany, and it would take about a month to get here. We don't really want to wait a month. So I have an idea. This quarter panel looks rough, but a lot of the dents are big, soft dents. They're not like sharp dings that just stretched it out. I'm wondering if I can repair this quarter panel without cutting it off and save time and money that way. And then it also keeps the original quarter panel on the car and not being, it's not replaced, which is a bonus on a vintage car. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the oil tank, drop the oil lines, and anything else I would have to remove anyway to replace the quarter panel, so there's a little bit of overlap there. Then I'm gonna spend a couple hours trying to fix the quarter panel. But I feel like I'm going in the right direction, I'll continue that. If not, then we'll just order a quarter panel and cut our losses. Now, before I can dig into pushing these dents out, I gotta make some room. Porsche 911s have a sump system for the oil. So there's an oil tank here, and there's lines that run up to a thermostat, and then up from the thermostat to a oil cooler at the front. So what I need to do is drop these oil lines out of my way. It's really dark in here, so you can't see it, but they're directly in my way behind the quarter panel. I do not want to crush them. And I might also need to drop the oil tank depending on how much in the way it is, but I'm gonna start just getting the lines off and draining the oil. I'm sure I won't make any mess whatsoever and everything's gonna be totally fine. Oil lines are out and, well, I didn't realize that it was leaking as I brought it over here, but the lines are out. I just spent a couple hours working on this quarter panel, again, to prove whether or not if it is worth saving or if we should wait for a quarter panel to come from Germany, which would take an entire month. I think that this quarter panel is savable, and here's where I'm at right now. I am purely just trying to rough this in, so obviously it's not perfect. But all the major dents are mostly worked out, and it's ripply as heck, and that's okay. We'll massage that out later. But I can get the general shape there, and it only took 2-3 hours, so that's not very bad at all. So I know that we're gonna be able to fix this quarter panel. So now's the fun part. Also, kind of funny, so I welded SC flares onto this narrow body car, and SC flares are like the Porsche wider body that's not quite turbo wide. And there's a seam that I welded, right? And you can kind of see it like right through here, if I get the angle right in the camera. There's a seam that runs through here. What's great about this though, I am a big proponent for TIG welding panels on cars because the metal remains workable. And this is more proof that TIG welding is great because I was able to massage that metal back out without it cracking and being all weird, and it's not a ton of work. If I had MIG welded that, the weld would be a lot harder, a lot more brittle, and not as fun to work. I'll take that win. So what I'm going to do next is I'm gonna remove the quarter panel glass, I'm gonna remove the tail light, and any other trim bits that are around the quarter panel, and we're gonna take the paint off. So I've got the quarter panel stripped down and sanded so it's nice and clean to work with. Now is the fun part where we need to go through and refine the metalwork, because right now it looks pretty great. I mean, you look at it, you go, hey, that could be ready for filler. But what I'm about to show you will prove otherwise. This is Dychem Steel Blue Layout Fluid, also known as like machining dye or whatever. I love this stuff. It's great for metalwork, especially when you're doing collision repair. I'm going to use this like a guide coat on the panel, so I'm gonna spray it on, we're gonna sand it off, then we'll see the low spots and the high spots and begin working the metal. So I spent a fair bit of time on this so far. I've got up here straightened out, back through here. The Dychem's doing a great job because it's showing me the highs and the lows. You can see up through here, we're pretty good, but yet still down here, I have plenty of work ahead of me. Also, what's kind of neat, you can see my old weld line now from when I welded this flare onto the car. And you know, where the weld line isn't because of how well I did the metal work a long time ago. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but man, it's coming together. Remember when there was a giant dent here, and now it's, you know, now it's pretty straight across there. Oh, one more thing also. I wedged this body hammer here against the jack point to keep the quarter panel from spragging out, because that's where it cracked off of the rocker. We're not gonna do the rocker right now. We'll get to that later. We have a tool coming to help us with that. Some more on that later, but I needed to keep the quarter panel where it should be to do the rest of the metalwork, and this is working very well. So what I need to do is I need to melt out this lead here and then re-tack the quarter panel in place so I can continue working it. Because, well, it's kind of in the way, and what I want to do as well is get this quarter panel finished out enough to get it into epoxy so it doesn't keep rusting or anything like that while I'm working on other stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to pull the hammer out here. We're going to melt out this lead with a torch, and then we'll tack it in place. I think that's good enough. I want to keep going with the metal work, but there's a thing about that with project creep and, you know, just spending too much time on something that doesn't actually need it. Because in a perfect world, I would take the time to actually make this not need like any filler to be repaired. But number one, pretty much everything gets filler when it's repaired because guess what? Primer is also a filler. I don't care what anyone has to say. Primer does do some resurfacing and you wouldn't use primer if it didn't. So all that being said, I think the next step here is to get this thing into epoxy so it doesn't sit and rust. Of course, down here is not going to get epoxy because it's going to go into the rocker or whatnot, and that's coming in the near future. Just waiting for a tool to show up in a couple days so I can do that. Yeah, so let's get this thing masked and get some epoxy on it. Quarter panel has been epoxy primed now. Yes, I did get 2 runs in it because I'm a dummy, but we're not going to talk about that any further. For those who are not aware, epoxy primer is very, very crucial when you're working with bare metal. You can use like self-etching primer when it comes to like softball sizes of bare metal and smaller and you're okay. However, epoxy primer is next to the best thing possible for bare metal. The only thing better than that would be galvanization, and well, we're not going to galvanize this panel, so epoxy primer. The other benefit of epoxy primer is that it's really sticky. So you could spray epoxy primer in areas that you couldn't scuff great, and it would still stay and be okay. The other benefit to epoxy primer I love so much is that it stays open for a week, at least the brand that we're using does, which means that once this dries, I can apply filler directly to it without sanding if I want to, which is kind of neat, or you know, you could spray the top coat or wherever else. So this is gonna dry and we'll revisit it with some body filler and then go up to the steps from there. But for now, it's no longer gonna rust, so that's a win. The fender on the 911 is not really worth repairing. It's pretty rough. So we picked up this new used one at the Porsche annual swap meet. It's in rough shape, as you can see. The seller claimed it's like a new old stock, so it's unused, and that's like the, you know, the typical primer that it has on it, and then someone else sprayed white on it. Don't really know why. I gotta strip this down to bare metal because I'm not painting over any of that, first off. And it's gonna still need body work anyway. So we're gonna get this thing stripped down and cleaned up. It's absolutely crazy because this is just primer. This stuff immediately lifted before I could even finish spreading it on the other side. It's absolutely wild. Now that's a time saver right there. I wanna see if this is the paintbrush will push it off. That's incredible. It just comes right off. I forgot to put plastic down, but whatever, I'm committed. Paint has been stripped. Still need to sand off the rest of the flash rust and whatnot that's on here. Not a big deal. However, I'm pushing that to the side because something big just showed up on a pallet. And by something big, I mean like 12 boxes. Dent Fix heard about our rocker crease problem, reached out and said, hey, we got a tool for that. So they sent this pallet over that apparently has a tool that we need to get this project done. Let's start ripping open some boxes and get it put together. This is the MAXI Deluxe system by Dent Fix. And I'm genuinely surprised with how many things came in this kit. When they said they're sending over the deluxe kit, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a bunch of pulling rods and stuff. No. If bodywork is an interest of yours and you don't have any body tools, if you buy this kit, it has pretty much everything you need to get started. We're talking body hammers, dollies, clip removal tools, plastic wedges, air tools, and a whole lot more. This thing's an absolute unit, and it's also great because it closes and just fits in with the shop. The main reason Dent Fix sent this over though is to fix the crease in the rocker of this 911. This little yellow unit right here is a stud welder, and what it does is it welds little tabs onto the metal, and then you can pull those tabs to pull creases or dents out. I'm gonna read the instructions here, and then we'll get started with trying to get that crease out of that rocker. So funny story, you might be wondering why it's a little dark in the shop right now. We had the weirdest thing happen to our power. So we technically have power, but we just put a multimeter up to it and we have 70 volts of power. Our provider has no idea what's going on. Another shop down the street has had their motor pumps burn out, which is like $100,000 worth of pumps apparently. I don't really know what's going on right now, but I just spent a couple hours this morning getting a 220 volt welder ready to use, and I can't use it now. The problem is this video comes out in 36 hours and I still have to edit it, and I just had a big stopper put in my day. This is not good. It's Friday morning. The power is officially back the way it should be. So now, we can get down to business. I'm all set up here. We got the paint stripped off. Dent Fix has the new magnet now that sticks here to replace their old style and puts the lead right there for your ground. I like that a lot. On our rocker here, I have a little bit of crease here, but a long crease down this full length. I'd like to try a couple different methods to see what works the best, but we're gonna work our way up. So what I need to do is take this part of the tool. It goes onto the low spot on the metal. I'll push the button. It'll heat up, attach itself, I'll let go, and then I'll be able to pull back and it'll pull the crease out. Now what I do like about this is they include this really heavy weight that goes onto the stinger right here. So I'll slide it on. So when I attach it, I can use it like a slide hammer, which will give me a lot more pulling force than if I just kind of yank by hand. However, what I probably end up doing is a different method, but we're gonna start with this first to see how it does. That worked out really well. Actually, it worked out better than I anticipated because I thought I need to use the wiggle wire, which we'll go into in a second. The goal for this though is to get it hot enough that the tip sticks, but not so hot that when you break it off, it makes a hole, or too cold that when you slide it back, it rips off. So I guessed right. I just put it in the middle of the timer for the welding rod there, and it worked great. Next thing I want to try is the wiggle wire for this long crease. So it starts here, it fades in really deep to about here. It's really hard to tell on camera, but it's a good, probably a ½ inch or so deep in the center, and then it fades back out. The typical rule of thumb when you're working a dent out, whether it's like PDR or just metalwork in general, is to kind of start at the edges and work your way towards the center. Don't start in the center where it's the deepest, because it'll just kind of peak really weird and not work well. You kind of want to like massage it out, not force it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the wiggle wire. I'm going to start on the end over here, and just do like from here to here, wherever it is the lengthwise that needs to be, and make sure I'm focusing my pull a little bit here lightly, and as I go in deeper, I'll pull a little bit harder. In this kit, they also included these bear claws. So we have like this one that does 4 claws, and this one that does as many claws as I'm not gonna count right there. This little one with 4 claws you can use your hand on. The one over here, however, you need to use with a tool. So let's get set up and try with the hand claw first and see how it does. Because this isn't super heavy steel, I think it's like 16 gauge right here. It was not bad to move at all. I was able to just yank it with my body weight. I was going to take a step up to the bigger one, but I don't think I even need to right now. It's gonna be overkill. So I'm gonna take more wiggle wire. We're gonna go the rest of the length here. There's you can move back and forth to keep massaging this crease out. I don't know why I put off so long getting one of these machines. It's saving me so much time. The majority of this crease is now pulled out. I just did one straight line as you saw across there. It looks pretty good. There's still a couple low spots, especially right in the center right here. I think rather than doing the wiggle wire, now that I have like the majority of it worked out, I'm gonna use the stinger again here quick. And we're gonna slide hammer it the rest of the way so I can get a little bit more fine individual control because there's some lower spots than others. But man, so far, this thing is awesome. Quick disclaimer as well, yes, we did receive this tool for free from Dent Fix, as we discussed earlier. However, we are not being paid, so this is not like an official review or anything like that, nor are we getting paid to say anything nice about this either. Yes, we got it for free. No, it's not influencing how I feel about the machine. And this thing already, I can tell it's gonna be life-changing in the shop. You can find out more about this tool in the link in the description down below. So thanks for watching, guys. You'll catch us again next week where we're back on Project Jigsaw. And thanks again for bearing with us as we were not able to work on Jigsaw this week. However, I hope you guys enjoyed what we chose to work on. There'll be more videos on this 911 repair coming in the future once we get a bunch more work done on it. But as always, we'll catch you guys next Saturday morning.